Sziasztok, angolul fogok előadni. So, hi, my name is Jonathan. I've recently left Kibu. I was working there all last year, working on VR and AR projects. And I left Kibu to join Oculus in London to work on the social VR efforts of Facebook and Oculus. I gained so much knowledge working at Kucha in Budapest, so I think this is what allowed me to be a part of this experience. So this gentleman next to me is Douglas Engelbart. This is his presentation in the 60s. He is one of those high priests, as Martin said, of computing. He's demonstrating the first computer mouse keyboard interaction prototype we have ever seen, and he basically defined the computation as we know today. This is the Xerox Star 8010, the first consumerly available computer with a graphical user interface. And if you look at it, you can see windows, you can see the files on the desktop, you can move around the windows as you want, you have copy-paste. And if you compare it to a screenshot that I took 3 days ago when I was working on this presentation, there is not too much difference. So you have colors, but the same paradigm has stayed, basically. The same design method has stayed. And I was working as a user interface designer. This was bothering me. I felt like we are going in circles. It's a great design, but I wanted to do something new. So this guy next to me is Jaron Lanier, and he coined the term virtual reality in the 90s, actually, and this is his prototype of the first VR headset called the iPhone. He basically broke the boundaries of 2D flatland of designing interfaces and opened some new possibilities for us. Fast forwarding to 2016, Oculus has released Oculus Rift, the first 6 degrees of freedom consumer headset. And I felt like, okay, this is my time to actually contribute and maybe try to do something as cool as Douglas Engelbart did in the 60s. So the second motivation I had it's this quote from Chet Falisak from Valve, and he was actually blaming us designers that we are messing VR up because people are feeling sick of it, and it's not the technology that's wrong, but the design solutions are wrong. So in my diploma work in 2016-15, I started to work on some design explorations for virtual reality. So these are some interactions principles I was trying to build at that time. I was using a Google Cardboard for prototyping, and I was thinking about locomotion, interacting with 3D objects and all that stuff. This was my entrance kind of to VR. And I had this idealistic view that user interface in VR should be just 3D. So I had this vision that kind of Minority Report crap, but I knew it would never work. After I tried to do it, I tried to build environments according to these principles, and thinking people would be able to only use 3D as the 3D trash can in a desktop to do UI interactions. But the truth is that people actually consume media in 2D. So we use text, we use rectilinear video, we use GIFs, and we use those. They make sense. We use them because this is an easy way to use to read condensed information, to learn about stuff. But it's becoming harder and harder when we are interacting with 2D surfaces showing us information in the real world, that we actually need a room where you would put a big black box on your wall, and then you would have a heating laptop on your lap and try to do some multi-screen multitasking. This is something that VR allows you to do easily. But what is hard in VR is interacting with objects, because we don't really have all the sensory input that we would have in our physical reality. So we don't have haptic feedback, we don't have all this stuff. So we actually have to read the user's intent and kind of do all these interactions kind of magically. This is a prototype I built at Kucha in Budapest a couple of months ago, because typing in VR is actually hard because of the lack of feedback. So I was trying to build a keyboard that was kind of fast, and it used autocorrection and all that stuff. The mistake I made here, it was super physical, so it was exhausting to type over the course of a couple of minutes. But why I'm working with VR, and why is it interesting? So in the early days of smartphones, we thought they will replace computing. Then they will replace computers. But then we kind of found those features that smartphones are actually good at, and we tried to make them better, and they became super useful tools. So what is VR good for? The obvious answer is VR is good for entertainment. VR is good for gaming. It's good for enjoying 360 video content and all this stuff. Another kind of obvious answer is that it's good for simulations. So Walmart is training employees hazardless or without any hazards. The new employees are trained that way. You have piloting simulators, all that stuff, which is quite cool. But I'm not that much interested in this stuff. What I'm super interested in is actually telecommunications. I still don't think that the best way to interact with people who are not physically next to us in 2017 is to look at 100 times 100 pixels on your screen and try to have a compelling conversation with a flat image. That's just not how people interact with each other. So what VR allows us to do is to put people into the same room, the same physical or virtual physical room next to each other, to share the same experience, to share the same objects with each other, and have kind of more natural. I know it's not a silver bullet, but it's a better way of communicating. You can see body language and all that stuff. So with VR, we are able to kind of break the boundaries of geography and connect people together who are thousands of miles away and put them into more human situations to share knowledge with each other or share memories with each other. So what we are trying to do at the moment is building up an operating system, a platform that allows people to do all this stuff I talked about effortlessly. So designers and developers and people thinking about this have to come together and kind of do what we have done in the 2000s with smartphones, building a proper, good working computational platform. Thank you.